Hello friends, let us now learn some important questions in esophagus. First, Heller's cardiomyotomy is done for. Heller's cardiomyotomy is a condition where you give a small nick or small cut in the uh, serosa and circular muscles of the lower esophageal sphincter. Here in the lower esophageal sphincter, you will give a small cut, okay, and thus relieve the pressure of lower esophageal sphincter. So this is done for the condition where there is increased lower esophageal sphincter pressure. That is most commonly seen in achalasia cardia. So for Heller's cardiomyotomy is a procedure which is done for achalasia cardia. Then for congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, we do Ramstead pyloroplasty is done. For gastroesophageal reflux disease, that is GERD, we do Nelson's fundoplication, or there are many procedures like Nelson's Taupes fundoplication, Dor's fundoplication. Many procedures are there for GERD. And for duodenal stenosis, you will remove the stenosed part and you do duodenostomy. Okay, so these are the different procedures which you do for the given conditions. Okay, second question, what is feline esophagus? This is also a straightforward question. Feline esophagus is eosinophilic esophagus. So if you see the options, either it is eosinophilic esophagus, GERD, radiation esophagitis, or carcinoma esophagus. It is straightforward question where feline esophagus is called as eosinophilic esophagitis. What is the safest contrast used in esophageal perforation? The safest contrast used in esophageal perforation. We will see the options. Okay. Is it iohexol, barium sulfate, gadolinium, or methylene blue? Iohexol is the safest contrast which is used in esophageal perforation. This you will have to remember. Okay. Next, a coin or foreign body is stuck in esophagus at 25 centimeters from incisors. This located is approximately situated at which of the following levels? See, in esophagus, if you see, we have 15 centimeters. Okay, 15 centimeters, 25 centimeters, and 40 centimeters. These are the landmarks of the important landmarks which you see in the important landmarks of esophagus from incisors. From incisors, if you measure the distance of 3 landmarks, they will come to 15 centimeters, 25 centimeters, and 40 centimeters. 40 centimeters is lower esophageal sphincter, whereas 25 centimeters is bronchus or aorta. 25 centimeters is bronchus or aorta, but to be precise, 25 centimeters is left bronchus. Okay, and we have 20 centimeters also, which is for arch of aorta, or 22 centimeters. Some books say 22 centimeters, and at 15 centimeters, it is cricopharyngeal sphincter is seen at 15 centimeters. So here the question is 25 centimeters. So it is left mainstem bronchus. Whereas arch of aorta is at 22 centimeters. Cricopharyngeal junction is at 15 centimeters. Gastroesophageal junction, or if you see lower esophageal sphincter, is at 40 centimeters. The next question. Following esophageal perforations, non-operative treatment methods are preferred in all except. Among all the given esophageal perforations, in which of the perforations we prefer operative treatment? So if you see, these are the options. So non-operative treatment is preferred in all. So we will see all the treatment options. If there is mediastinum involvement, then you can do non-operative treatment in mediastinum involvement, in cervical perforation or perforation caused by fiber optic endoscopy. We can do non-operative management, whereas for Born-Heave syndrome we prefer operative management. But the question here is, what are the factors which favor non-operative management and the factors which favor operative management in esophageal perforations? So I will write here. So the factors which favor non-operative management or medical management include: first, if there is small septic load. If there is small septic load, that is, if there is more asepsis, there is very less sepsis, okay. If there is minimal cardiovascular upset, and if the perforation is just confined to mediastinum, or perforation is crossed by flexible endoscope, or perforation of cervical esophagus, okay. Small septic load, if there is CVS uptake, or if there is if the perforation is confined to mediastinum, or perforation by flexible endoscope, and perforation by cervical esophagus. These are the factors which favor non-operative management. The factors which favor operative management are if there is large septic load, if there is septic shock. Obviously there is sepsis here, so we should do an operative management. Then if the pleura is breached, that tells us that it has entered the lungs, so it can spread to lungs. So it is better to do operative management, because once there is perforation or pressure difference in the lungs, that will affect inspiration and expiration. So we will have to do operative management. And in Born-Heave syndrome, because in Born-Heave syndrome it is most commonly seen in Born-Heave syndrome is seen when there is vomiting against the closed glottis, okay. Because of the sudden vomiting, that too against closed glottis, increased pressures in the esophagus causes rupture of the esophageal wall. Thus there is perforation, esophageal perforation, leaking the contents into the thorax and the abdomen. So this Born-Heave syndrome, due to high pressure, there is increased leakage of contents from the esophagus to the surrounding structures. So that is more severe condition. So we have to do operative management. And if there is perforation in abdominal esophagus, okay, even then we should do operative management. Operative management is done for large septic load, septic shock, if pleura is breached, Born-Heave syndrome, and if there is perforation of abdominal esophagus, then we do operative management. So these are the 5 questions. Thank you guys for watching my lecture. Thank you.